Hello and welcome to another Modeling on the Fly as we continue to build this AT-AT Walker-like creation, which is very similar to something you might have seen if you watched Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back. And with me tonight is my good friend, Miss Jamie Ann, who I will continue to call Jamie. How are you doing, Jamie?
I'm doing all right.
And she's here to make fun of me, and, well, I think that's really about it. It's just to kind of make fun of me.
It's a privilege.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else she's here for, and I can't imagine what that would be. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump in and start the whole modeling process. I hope everybody's had a nice time and a little break here, and you'll have to forgive me. It's been just a little while since I got a chance to stare at this model, so if I start off a little bit slow, then I'll probably continue slowly for a little while, and then I'll just keep right on working slowly, because it makes me feel good.
Well, that's pretty much normal.
Thank you. So let's see here. If I click on this, what do we get? We get all that stuff, and that's pretty good. There's something I want to do here. Let's see. I'll grab you, and you, and you. Okay. Basically, I just want to thicken this up a little bit. So let's see. Let's grow that once. Let me get my move tool. I'm just going to slide this out. I just want to add a little more thickness to that. It just didn't, for a big plate of armor, it just didn't look thick and plate-like.
No, it was a little thin and wimpy.
It's a little thin and wimpy, and you can't really have thin and wimpy plates of armor on your AT-AT Walker-like thing, so I just solved that problem. Now, let's see, if we take a look at some photos, let's see, what are we going to work on tonight? It's one of those things where, you step away for a few minutes, and you come back, it's like, and what are we doing? So let's see, we could do this funny looking piece here with the attachments here. Now, if I dig through all of my reference material, there's some interesting stuff here, which I'll go ahead and point your way. Look at this. We actually seem to have, now maybe it's just because we're on two different sides of this thing, I really don't know, but we have like two different designs. It's like here we have just the solid plates, right? So nice squarish plates, like they're just made for polygon modeling. You can't beat that. And then we come over here to this guy, and we have the exact same plates, but we also have these little rounded versions of them kind of coming off the sides. So it's one of those deals where it's like you got to kind of wonder which one of these is the right kind, and then you kind of sit down and stop thinking. It looks like that it really is that way. Like on one side it's got the rounded versions, and on the other side it doesn't. If you had the rounded versions on both sides, I don't think anybody would notice. But anyways, either way, we need to get some sort of a base shape down, so let's go ahead and start there.
Could almost be your preference, whatever you like.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you just kind of make the judgment call as the modeler. So let's see, if we come over here, I do like how we've got this kind of staggered thing going on. That's fairly handy there, but we've got a nice arc shape that follows the shape of our little disc, and then we just kind of tuck back underneath the armor plate. So it's one of those things where it's like it's going to be a good idea that we thickened up that armor plate just a little bit so we can fit this up underneath. Now, let's see what I would do if it was me modeling this.
Oh, and it is.
And it is. Oh, goodness. So let me see here. Let me grab this guy real quick. And I'm going to make a copy of it. Now, let's grab just the plates that I'm going to need for this one part. So let's hit 4 to grab polygons. I'm going to hit Q to get these out of the way. And how far around do I need to go here? I need to take a look at my pictures again. So that's a pretty good shot. Is there anything better than that? That's nice. That's pretty good. So if we jump over here, our disc is a little bit lower, it looks like. It comes down from the top just a little bit lower, but I don't think that's going to be a big deal. So what I'm going to do is we'll start from here, and we'll grab all these. Like so. Now let's extrude these. And let me pull those out by local normal, and the extrusion height's crazy there, so we don't need all that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to extrude these out until we get a nice gap. And if we take a look at our image, we can get an idea of the kind of gap we need. Just anything along in there should be okay. Say somewhere right about here. And click OK. Now we'll hit Control-I to invert the selection and delete, so that this is now all we have left, or just these parts. Okay, so that's a good start. Now let's grab some edges, and let's see what happens if I hit loop. What do we get? Looks like we get pretty much what I want to, so let's thicken that up a little bit. Let's get the whole thing back in object mode. And there we go. And we can probably just kind of tuck that in, like so.
Wow, look at that.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like I know what I'm doing.
It's like magic.
I know. So let's see. Let's grab this edge here, and I'm just one of those where you just kind of make it up as you go. Now I think I can shift drag that and make a face. I really wish you could do that with polygons for extrusion, but you can't. So you just sit here and whine about it like I do. Now let's see. If we come back over to our picture, and yeah, you see you can get that kind of stair-steppy effect. And if we just kind of pretended amongst ourselves that stair-steppy effect would actually have a seam, if you got right down on it, then you could kind of justify building this in separate parts, kind of like we are. So let's see. Let's shift drag this back like so, and we'll pull this up into the air. I mean, we could possibly build this out of what's already here. I'm just thinking, is there a nice way that I could do that wouldn't give me a headache or make me want to cry? Or I realize that's the only thing I want to avoid. I don't like crying when I'm on videos.
No,
Let me try this.
just in the privacy of your own home.
No, when I'm sitting at home by myself, sobbing quietly. Let's see. I want to try something. All right. This whole everything I do in this show is always so experimental anyway that it shouldn't be a big deal if I want to try something else. Let's go over here and then make this all kind of transparent like we do, and we can see all this. Okay. This may or may not work, but that's never stopped me before, and I'm not going to let it stop me this time. Let's just try this. I'm going to put a cut right here. And then we'll put a cut here, and here, and here, and then there. And we'll just continue. Oh, I think I did that one in the wrong spot. Okay, fine. I just clean that up when I need to. So it actually needs to be like there and there. It's really hard to see where these are at this point. And run that all the way up to the top. Okay. Now let's come back over here and let's shade everything back up. Let's get out of component mode. Let's grab this funny little piece we've been working on here. And just for the moment, I'm going to pull it out of the way. Okay, wrong object. Don't do that. I love it when Max selects through like that. It makes me really happy. There we go.
Well, it's hard to tell when the little arrows are at the exact same spot.
Indeed. Okay. Now that needs a little bit of help, but that's all right. Some edges here that could probably be removed. Let's also take this guy and we can pull him out of the way as well. And we can always stick him right back in when we're done anyway. So this is all looking generally okay. We just have to come down a little bit further. So let's pull everything back a little bit, grab this guy, get the cut tool again. Let's just say we cut it to right about there and call it even. Now, to complete that, let's make a cut that runs to the back. And even if it just gets up under that plate, I think it'll be alright. There's some extra edges here we could probably do away with. I don't think we need this. And I don't think we need this.
What about running along the top?
I probably will here very shortly, but right at the moment I don't think it's absolutely critical. It's all pretty flat, which is good. That's going to help me out just a little bit later. Okay, so let's see. Let's hit 4, and let me start grabbing some polygons. How many can I get away with? So grab all these, and you, and you, and you. Alright, now let's do an extrusion. Ooh. Let's make that a really low level extrusion. Tiny extrusion. So 0.1. Click OK, and then I'll just slide this out in X, but I can't because something is conforming to edges. So let's go ahead and undo that. Make sure we don't get too crazy of an explosion. So it looks like, yeah, last time I left my edge constraint button on, so we'll slide that out. That setting always bites me, at least like once a day. Okay, that area we can slide back. That's not a big deal. Some of these edges in here we could probably work with a bit. Maybe remove them all together, because in the end what we're going to have to do is mimic this radiating pattern of edges. Now, that's kind of an interesting thing. You notice here we're missing those little rounded plates. That's very interesting. So clearly we're looking at two different models, which in itself is funny because the lighting looked really similar in the pictures. But I guess really just a judgment call. I like having them there, and it's one little extra bit of detail I get to stack on fairly easily. So
you prefer the edges with the cornering?
Yeah, I mean, if you get to do something that adds detail and it's really easy to do, I say go with it and enjoy it. Because that kind of stuff doesn't happen that often. Usually it's something difficult and hard, and it gives you a headache just thinking about it. So if you get a chance to do something fun and easy, make the most of it. Okay, so let's see here. We could get some more stuff kind of out of the way. Let's get you. Can we grab this guy and pull him out here? Things look a little funny there, but that's all right. Oh yeah, it's amazing how funny things look when you get up under that plate, but I'm not going to stress that too much. Okay, let's see. Let's grab edges on this guy. So boom, grab you, hit 2, and for at least a moment I'm going to remove some edges. So shift remove those. Now let's see here. In my side viewport, if I start kind of deshading everything, we get kind of a really general idea of where those lines are going to be, which is probably enough to get the job done. So let's see, that first one, it does kind of point to the corner of that armor plate. I mean, not quite. And then everything else, it really does point to just about where the hinges are. So you see like these broken edges, these polygon-like edges, and we're just about pointing straight to those with a little bit of an offset. So if we use that as a general guideline, I think we're going to be good to go.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Let's get my cut tool out again. And there we go. So let's see. Now I'm kind of ignoring the image plane here, just a little bit, to a healthy amount. And we can cut back to about here. And grab the next one, and we'll cut. Yeah, that's actually matching the image plane fairly well. Who knew? Now let's just cut this back to about here. And the next one, go a little bit lower. See about there. Okay, now let's see what we have left now. So we'll shade everything back up. And we have probably some edges we could get rid of. Might make our lives easier if we did anyway. Just go to edges, and we get you, and your friend, and this little guy here, and ooh, we should probably connect those. So here, let's go ahead and shift remove those. Now, if we grab, yeah, I don't want to do that. So let's go ahead and just get this guy kind of connected all the way up here. That's straight enough.
If it's close enough, it works.
Straight enough. That'll do. And let's go ahead and remove that. I got a vertex here we can remove as well. And I'm a little loath to do it, but let me try this. Let's do a target weld this guy down here, and then we can grab this edge here and just kind of slide it up a little bit. I don't think that's going to get in anybody's way. Pretty sure it won't. Alright, now, number 2 again, and let's go ahead and remove these guys. So hold down Control and hit remove.
So doing this is just making the area simpler?
Yeah, exactly. That's all we're accomplishing here. Now, I'm usually a little bit apprehensive about doing this, but I think we're just going to do it anyway and see what happens. Let me grab these polygons. Oop, don't move anything. I saw it nudge a little bit. I hate it when it does that. That's why it's so important to occasionally turn your move tool off. And that's kind of concerning. You see that? That's,
yeah, the gap there.
yeah, it shouldn't really be. So let's figure out what that's all about. Looks like some messed up part of the extrusion. Or like an edge that got deleted that shouldn't have been.
I think you're trying to cover up a hole.
Yeah, probably. Well, let's get it.
But when you put your other piece back on there, you don't even see it.
Yeah, we'll get it all patched up. I just want to make sure that I'm not making anything too crazy. I think it's just how unplanar this whole thing is. Let me start removing some. There we go. That was the problem. And we can reconnect that in a moment. Let's go ahead and do a couple of things here to repair. So target weld up here. That's fine. Shouldn't get in anybody's way. And we'll deal with this later. We are going to have to do something about that, though.
Now it looks like it's been stitched.
Mm-hmm. It does look a little bit weird. And most of this stuff is all covered up with that other armor plate anyway, but that doesn't necessarily mean we get to slack off too heavily. So let's go ahead and just do a single cut right here. And then we should be able to go to edges. Oh, don't do that. Get out of the cut tool. Okay. Alright, so that didn't actually get cut. I really wanted it to be, but it just didn't want to be. It was kind of like, nuh-uh, sorry. So we cut that to there just temporarily, just for a moment. Now, edges. You, come here. I want this edge all by itself. And I want the other edge right across from it. And I want to click bridge and just make that happen. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing here. Bridge, make that happen. Okay, that's all filled in. And everybody is reasonably happy. So now we can grab this guy and control remove it. And there we are. So now that's all patched up and no longer looks all crazy.
Amazing.
Not so much. I wish it was, but it's not. Okay, so now let's go back over here to vertices, and they got to do a little bit of target welding cleanup here. If that's a little bit off, but lines up better, then I'll definitely go with that instead. Here, that's kind of interesting. So let's see, maybe same story here. We could just start target welding these guys back together. So again, if you get something just a little bit off, but works better, then go with just a little bit off. I just kind of split the difference right there. Alright, now some of these, they kind of anchor right in here. That's a little problematic. We'll want to anchor those off probably on both sides, but first, let's do this. Let's grab this little stray vertex and nuke it. Let's go to polygons and get all these guys and make sure that they are nice and planar. And that looks kind of scary.
Kind of flattened it out on the top.
Well, it's not exactly what I had in mind. So we can kind of help it along so that it doesn't have such a radical change. Sometimes you just gotta do this just a little bit by hand. Some funky geometry there with a little dual split. It looks like I'm moving stuff I shouldn't, so make sure when you marquee select like that you're not grabbing a whole bunch of things you don't necessarily want to grab. Alright, so let's get that straightened out. Now with just that, let's just see if that helped things along just a little bit. Yeah, a tiny amount. Still a little bit severe back here toward the back. I don't like how far back that's pulling. It's coming out way on the side. So what I may end up doing is not worrying so much about the planarity of the whole thing. Partially because I doubt it's going to really be noticed. Just kind of let it conform as it is. We're not really getting any major normal issues or artifacts, so that's good. Okay, well, if we go that route then, let's take a look at our pictures, and we've got these little tiny gaps here that we're going to need to get into place. It's going to be kind of important. Let's grab our big plate of armor over here, and we'll slide that over, get that kind of back in where it belongs. Let's grab this guy, come over to vertices, and I'm going to slide this. Oh.
That can't be good.
No, that's definitely not a good thing. So let's just do it in two motions. We'll do it one this way and one this way. Now just kind of eyeball this, get it all lined up. Because when we end up making the shell that contains the normal map from this anyway, it's not going to make any difference. That's incorrect. Let's make that all transparent so I can see what in the world it is I'm selecting right here. Okay.
You're missing that one section, huh?
Well, something looks a little funny right there anyway.
Yeah.
I think I see it. That's alright, we just need to straighten this out a little bit. And we'll probably end up taking that edge, bringing it straight down, anchoring it straight down here toward the center, because we've already got this floating edge down here. So we could probably go ahead and kind of get that started. And we can see how this kind of attaches up here at the top. This can be fixed, or at least made a little better with a target weld. And let's get our move tool out. And as much as I'm sure it'll get me in trouble here in just a minute, let's grab our edge constraints, and we'll slide that back. And be sure to turn off the edge constraint when we're done, then it won't get me in trouble. Which will be pretty unprecedented, because usually I forget. Okay, so now if we wanted to create these gaps that take place in this shell, there's a couple of different ways we could go about it. Probably the most straightforward right out of the gate would be to grab each one of these edges and just begin with a simple chamfer, and then we'll worry about how they're anchored and deal with all that a bit later. So let's see, we've got just 4. I think that's right.
Yeah, you have 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's what I need. Okay, so now let's go ahead and run a quick chamfer on these. And we don't want that to be a very big chamfer, so we'll pull that down. Something really thin, but just big enough to pick up, when you look at it. We'll click OK.
So does that make the next part that you're putting inside raise out a little more?
Not yet.
Okay.
Right. Really, all that did was that just made some gaps. Now, another way we could do this, maybe it's actually be a better way to do it. Let's undo that. You just made me think of something when you were talking. Let's maybe try this a different way. Let's grab let's see, a couple of things. First off, let's go to vertices, and before we get too carried away and forget, let's fix this. This needs to slide back. Let's shade up real quick so we can tell how bad that looks. And it doesn't look too bad. And somewhere right about there. Now, just for the time being, we are going to hit the 2 key, grab this edge, and we're just going to flat out remove it. We don't have to do that. It's just going to make our lives a little easier as we do this next part.
Okay.
So now, let's go with polygons. Let's grab each one of these polygons, and we're going to do an inset operation. But we're going to do this by polygon, and we're going to do it just a tiny little amount. So something about like so. So a very, very little amount. And click OK. And then let's do an extrusion from that. This will be a little extrusion as well. So just push those out just a bit. And that created our gap for us right there.
Yeah, look at that.
So now, if we just wanted to take that and push it just a little bit further, a tiny little bit further, we could do a bevel on top of that that had a little tiny amount of height.
Yeah, not quite as much.
Yeah, a tiny little amount of height, and then a tiny little amount of offset itself. And just click OK. So now let's get out of subobject mode. Let's hit F4, and there we go. So we've got those panels. Now we've got kind of a secondary edge that is now, it's kind of implied. It just sort of takes place right in there. I'm not worried about that. I think that's going to be just fine. So if we take this and, wrong button, if we want to come in here and grab the little rounded pieces that are right in here, we could probably build those from what we already have if we're just a little bit careful about it. Now, you'll notice there's a little bit of a change here where there was an edge right along in here that I could have worked in, and I probably should. So let's see how far back I can go to get that worked in before I go any further. So let's do a couple of quick undos. Because if I have to, I mean, I could just rebuild all these faces. They're all simplified, so it wouldn't be the end of the world, but if I can undo it all, then I'd rather do that. Let's see. Need to hit F4. And inset, all the way back to the inset. Let's just undo all that. So we'll give that a moment. Now, if you're curious and you're maybe just now picking up on the series, the reason my undos take a little bit is because I have some DirectX textures in my viewport so that my image planes are nice and clear, and that slows down my undos on this particular machine. Okay, now, since I've done that, we need to make an edge that kind of runs along the inside of this great big armor plate. Now, fortunately, in my case, I've got an edge right here that's like just jamming, begging me to use as a starting point. So let's grab this guy right here. And let's also, again, I'm always scared this is going to bite me. We'll turn on edge constraint. And we'll slide this up a little bit. And probably right about there is going to look good. So let's turn on no constraints now. Let's grab the cut tool. And I guess we're just going to hang around on the inside here. So it'll be like click. And we'll just go right along the inside of this armor plate. And anchor this down to, there's got to be an edge in there someplace. Now, where'd that end up going? Someplace crazy? Scary? Should I be worried? No, it's okay for now. In fact, we could probably get away with target welding it back a little bit. It looks like things get a little hairy right there, actually.
You have a lot of extra lines.
Yeah. Let's see about fixing that real quick. So let's get just a little bit of semi-transparency up in here so I can kind of get a clearer idea what's going on. Let's get out of subobject mode. Let's grab this guy and slide him out of the way for just a moment. Now, what in the world seems to be the problem? Looks like we just got some geometry that's folded back over itself. That in itself doesn't really scare me. I'm not too worried about that. Let's see. We can probably undo and put that block back where it was. Grab this guy, go into vertex mode, grab our target weld tool, and we'll just pull him straight back to there. I see what's going on. It's just an extrusion that's kind of laid back over itself. If it was exposed geometry, I'd be a little concerned. Since it's not, I'm really not in this case. If it's something I got to clean up a little bit down the road, I'll deal with it then, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. Okay, so now back over here. All of this is one piece except for these individual plates. So that poses a tiny little bit of a limitation, but nothing that's really all that scary. So what we're going to do is hit 4, and we'll grab you, and you, and you. Now, same thing as before. We're going to do an inset, and it'll be a tiny little inset. Tiniest little amount. I guess 23 was a good one. So go ahead and click OK. And then we're going to grab all of these together. And now all of these. And now we'll do our extrusion. Actually, it looks like it might be wise for us to do another inset, but let me see if I can get away without it. Let's go ahead and do our little extrusion, and click OK, and then we can do our little bevel. That's a crazy bevel. We don't want to do that. It's an insane...
Default setting is kind of big.
Yeah, it's an insane bevel. And then pull this down a little bit, just to make it a little more apparent what's going on. So from a distance, you're just going to see some gaps. All right, let's just see how that turned out. So we'll shade everything back up. Let's do F4, and I think that's actually looking pretty good. I think from a distance, that's going to hold up. From the distance you need to fly a snow speeder around the thing and trip it up.
Yeah, all you're missing is the little puffed out pieces that go around the...
Which it's really, that's one of those kind of discretionary pieces. You could have that or not have that.
Yeah.
I want to have it because I think it's cool. So let's see here.
But you could get away with just having that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's see here. Let's grab these guys. I want to try something that's good, a little bit totally experimental. Let's shift drag this out like so. And we're going to clone these to objects. And now these are all the same objects again. That might actually be okay. I think that might be okay. Let me think about that for a second. Yeah, it should be okay. Let's grab... Oh, we need to get out of this object. So let's grab this new object we just created. Let's hit polygons. And let's do something kind of odd. Let's see what happens if we first inset them pretty heavily. So a pretty dramatic inset. So the first thing that happens is this guy starts to look really weird. Don't worry about that so much. We'll deal with that. So something kind of like that. Click OK. Control I to invert the selection and hit delete. Now we get this kind of folded thing here, which is obviously not so good. So to fix that, I'm going to come down here and grab the cut tool, and I'm going to cut from one edge to the top edge. Now it made two separate faces out of this thing. So let's now go to polygons. Let's grab this face up here. Oh, come on now. You want to behave with me. Hit 4. Grab this guy. Nuke him out. Okay, that's a good start. Now let's grab... let's see, let's grab... Actually, he could probably stay just like that. Let me confirm something on the picture. These are pretty straight. They're trying to show it. Like, that shows just a tiny little bit of rounding right there. Everything else is pretty straight. But this is just a triangle. That's all it is. So, we could probably... Well, among other things, we could probably shrink it down a little more than it is.
I was going to say, they're all pretty small.
Yeah, they're all pretty small, and I think I still have them a little bit big. So let me try what I just did, like a second pass of it. All right, you get out of there. Give me this guy. Thank you. Polygons. Give me you, and this guy, and this guy, and this guy. Let's do another inset. And go even further. And that's awesome. I want a lot of that. I want that to happen all the time.
I don't think it likes that.
I don't think it likes that either. Alright, so if we cancel that, then the other thing I could do is just to scale these all down.
Might just be the easiest solution.
And in a lot of cases, easiest solution is going to end up being the best solution. So let's just scale this down, and scale this down, and scale this down. Let's go over here. I'm going to hit vertices and just kind of edit this shape a little bit. We can probably get away with just taking these vertices completely out of the picture. I don't want to get too carried away here. Okay, take care of that too. That can go away, and this can go away.
And the one.
I want to hold on to that one.
Okay.
I have plans for that one. We'll see if the plans work out, but
Wow.
I have plans for that one. All right. What'd you wow for? What are you wowing for?
You have plans.
I have plans. There's a method to the madness and all that. All right, so now let's take our height on this guy, and we'll drag it out. Now, let's see. Yeah, I kind of was... I was a little bit afraid that might happen, so I guess I could clean it up now, since I didn't clean it up before. Let's go ahead and remove that, and then come over here to vertices, and we'll take this little vertex, make it go away, and take this little vertex, and make it go away too. Now, this next part we're probably going to have to do individually for each object. Let's grab its edges, and you already know where I'm going. We're just going to try chamfering these guys. So we'll round that out. And it looks like we maxed, so I have to go corner by corner. So let's just cancel that all together. And we'll just start on one, and we'll chamfer. So instead of trying to do them all at the same time, which is leading to problems, we'll break it up.
Where's the magic button that you select everything and you just hit it and it makes it all nice and rounded?
I don't know. There probably is one, knowing my kind of luck, but this gives us some nice control, as you can already see. Slide that in a little bit. You know, it'd probably be better if I was hitting OK as I was doing all this.
Yeah, I was going to say, how come none of the other ones stayed?
Yeah, because I'm not hitting apply, which is what you're supposed to do. And we'll pull that down, hit apply. We'll pull this down. Actually, increase that a little bit. And hit apply. Alright, now same thing over here. Tighten that up, hit apply. Oh, that's creepy. And obviously not what we want. Ah, and there's our problem.
The extra point that you had plans for.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, actually, that was the plan.
Oh, okay.
The point I wanted to keep, and he had a nice edge to him. This guy just doesn't, so that edge has to suffer removal.
By edge.
Mm-hmm. It's gone. Alright, now let's try this again. Chamfer, and that looks... that's not too bad. We could probably just go with that. So apply, go over here. Maybe we'll tighten this one up just a little bit. And apply it. We could probably round that out a little bit, but we don't need all that many segments. Alright.
You forgot to hit apply again.
I did. I just want it to work automatically.
You were making sure I was paying attention.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
Way to cover me.
It's good. It's good.
Way to cover me. Okay. Now let's see. This guy... Actually, this thing requires some editing before I do any of that. So let's grab polygons. We're going to grab this face here on the bottom, and I'm going to slide it up a little bit. Ooh, look at that.
Whoops.
That's crazy. It looks like if we grab vertices here, we can pull those up, and then let's just grab edges, grab you, and then control remove. Problem solved. Okay, so now we go back to edges, and let's just start up here. Nope, no. There we go. Grab this guy. Now, same thing. Chamfer. Maybe a little more. Apply. Chamfer. Tighten that up a little bit. Apply. Chamfer. Apply. Chamfer. Alright. So I think that's going to do it for everybody. So now let's take the whole shape and let's slide it in a little bit. So where's my move tool? Is my move tool out here in space? It looks like it is. So let's come over here and go to Effect Pivot Only, Center to Object, switch off Effect Pivot Only. And then we can push this in over here. Just sink it into the shapes. Give some nice thickness. And clearly we've got a little bit of editing that could be done. Like we could just take this at the element level, and we could rotate it slightly so that we could flatten it out just a tad. So we just go element by element. We can kind of edit these just a notch. Probably a good idea. Okay, make sure angle snapping's not on because that'll bite you. And just drag that down just... Oop! You gotta be really careful how we do that one. Okay. And this one doesn't look too bad. Okay, I'm gonna try something else too. Let's go over to polygons. So I want this guy for... I just want this polygon, and this polygon, and this polygon, and this polygon. And let's do it one at a time. Let's make each one of these planar in their own right. So make planar, grab this guy, make planar. There you go. Everybody's nice and flat. Okay, now we're almost finished here. Let's grab you and loop, and you're not going to give me what I want, of course, because, I mean, why would you? Let's hold down Control and click on edges, and that will grab that edge for us nicely. We'll go back to chamfer, and that's crazy.
Oh.
You don't want to do that. So
that's horrible.
Let's do a little bit of chamfer here. Just put a little bit of an edge on that. Click OK. And hit 4 here. Control click on edges again. In fact, let's see if we can just do that all at once. So let's grab polygons and then you and you. And because really I was only worried about that triangle there. Away from that, the others could probably all be done at the same time. So Control click on the edge button and then grab the chamfer button and click OK. And that looks pretty good, I think. So now let's get out of here. Let's F8. Oh, it's not. That's another application. You don't hit F8 here. Let's hit F4 though. Turn off our wireframes, and there we go.
It's looking pretty good.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's actually going to wrap up this video. We've got our next section kind of taken care of, and until we meet again, thank you very much for watching. A big thank you to all of our member sponsors who make training like this possible. Also, a thank you to Jamie Ann for putting up with me for the last X number of minutes.
Yeah, even though he said I would never come back again.
I know.
I prove him wrong every time.
She does. All right, so we will see you guys on the next Modeling on the Fly. You take it easy.
Later.